Okay, great. Well, hello, Chad. How you doing? You can actually hear us now. Nice to see you there.
Yeah.
And all these great faces that are here already. What was that?
I saw you wave earlier, and I assumed it was to me, and I thought, well, I don't know if they know they're on not still on mute.
Right. Right. So, and where are you hanging out these days, Chad?
So I'm actually in my office in York, Pennsylvania, where Live was founded.
All right.
So
Great.
we have a big building here, and our recording studio is up on the 4th floor. Now I'm down on the 1st floor right now. Actually, it's where it has the most stable internet connection. So I came down here, but yeah. So my family, you know, we've all stayed kind of tucked away here in the state of Pennsylvania during COVID. Of course, the band isn't touring, and so you know we've kind of been left on our own here, which is dangerous for musicians. We do better, you know, on the road with like a goal of getting to a show or a tour date or writing songs or something. But I've enjoyed my time. I've been outside a lot. I have a big fire pit out in back of my house, and I burn fires and smoke cigars and other things, and enjoy hanging out.
Oh, that sounds great.
So are you guys making some new music in the studio?
We'll save some of the stories till 420. Yeah.
Save it till 420. Okay.
This is kind of our warm-up time to just kind of
welcome.
check in, and at 420, everyone will light up and actually get going on it here. And see, let's see, we've got a lot of wonderful new faces here this week.
Hello, everybody.
That must be serious Live fans here. You got a lot of fans, Chad. Really, I've been getting so many great emails, and I know why. Your music rocks, man. It fucking rocks. Pardon my French.
I truly do.
No, it's great.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've done it for so long. I think I just I take it totally 100% for granted. And that's the thing about, you know, the whole COVID thing. We played our last show in March, and then, you know, early March, and then had to shut it down right after then. So I really feel like we were just getting rolling. And then I don't do well. I mean, I'm telling you, I need like a handler, you know, somebody to keep me going out on the road, you know, a minder. Here's your hotel room. Here's your stage. I get home, I'm left alone too long. I get a little squirrely.
We were hoping you guys would come out and visit here, but that got shut down too. So
yeah, but we're going to make that happen. We're coming out. We're coming out for sure. You can count on that.
Good.
Okay, great. We really look forward to that. But listen, I want to tell you that you brought back rock and roll music for me, right? Because, you know, Nikki and I are sort of OG hippies in a way. You know, Nikki's a flower child on the Haight. I had a studio on 8th Street, and we did rock and roll forever. And then we got into reggae and punk, and then we got into trance and psytrance and all that sort of stuff. And now, you know, tuning into you guys, because to be really, when you guys were at your first peak in the 90s, I was up in the mountains in India meditating and becoming Swami, right? So I didn't hear any of your music. So your music is all brand new to me at this point, right? And so it's like this lullaby slowly thing going along, and all of a sudden you just slam us into turbo gear, and it's just so I mean it's an elevation thing that I really thank you guys for, to make rock and roll come alive again. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, I'm sure we'll be able to tell you the stories, but we actually wrote the Secret Samadhi record in Jamaica for some very specific reasons. So and then just like in a weird factoid, you were saying that you were listening to reggae. So the man that really discovered Live and signed us to our record deal was a guy named Gary Kerfurst, and Gary was Bob Marley's manager. So we sort of have reggae lineage in there.
Huh.
Okay.
How
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, right up here where we are up in Northern California, there's a whole reggae settlement too. There's, we have the reggae on the river and so on, a lot of reggae influence up here. So yeah, we're down with that for sure.
For sure. And there's Ed. I just see that Ed came on. We get to finally meet you, Ed.
I think his
So he's
audio.
still connecting to his audio. Yeah, still coming on. And you
Okay.
got to
Eddie, you're
mute
muted.
yourself. Unmute yourself, Ed.
There we go.
Okay, there
There
we
you
go.
go.
Okay.
Hey, Ed.
Hey, nice to meet you virtually.
online here.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. How are you guys?
So yeah, anyway, and you're also back in York, Pennsylvania?
I am in Ridgefield, Connecticut. So I'm about 4-hour drive from that guy in the hat there.
I see.
Right.
Okay.
Just so everybody knows, like Ed and I, we talk to each other frequently, but this is the first that we've seen each other since March.
Oh, I know, dude. We're like so texting.
Oh, really?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're all. It's kind of funny because we've been really chilled out, and that's been a good thing. But I mean, I'm just missing the stage, missing playing in front of people.
Chad, you know what? We have it.
Yeah,
we have that in common with the Rolling Stones, because I read an article with Keith Richards. He said he hadn't seen Mick since about the same time. So we're in good company for.
Oh, okay. We'll
We're
put
not
you
seeing
guys
each other.
together then.
No, it's been absolute hell on rock and roll. I mean, all kinds of music. Any symphony musicians, it's been hell,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just crazy. And we're all desperate to hear music live, and you guys are desperate to play it. I want to dance.
Yeah.
I really miss
Heck
dancing,
yeah.
to it.
Me too. I miss it all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Miss it all.
bumping into people on the dance floor and so on. It's really jumping to the beat. So that's, yeah. And you guys, like I was telling Chad before you got on, Ed, when you guys were on your first peak in the 90s, I was up in the mountains in the Himalayas meditating. So I didn't hear any of your music. And now coming back now, it's a brand new discovery for me. So I want to thank you guys. It's just outrageous. And then I like the lyrics of your song. You're talking about little Swami with his sweet stuff. I mean, where's that
I
from?
gotta ask you about that. Wait, I wrote that down. That was in Insomnia and the Hole in the Universe. Where the hell did that come from?
God only knows. We're on the same wavelength. Just it's a good deal.
Yeah.
I have so many questions because I mean, this is the first time we've met, and of course we've been connected for a long time through these other degrees of like Chris Slight and Chris Herline and meeting you guys. And so I just right away I remember meeting when Chris Slight told me about Swami Select, and I started to dig in, and I was just so intrigued, and of course the products are amazing, and he brought us that. And so it's like this whole thing of like, wow, like I got to get out there and visit. And then COVID hit, and we had like 2 times we were planning to come out and couldn't make it happen.
Right.
Right.
I know. I think you got to smoke some Swami Select somewhere along the line, right?
We did down in Florida. And
okay.
minds were blown.
Well, we got to get you some of this. You got to come west to
I'm
California.
I'm holding up a bud of Secret Samadhi right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's from this year's harvest that we harvested probably right in the middle of October.
Yeah.
And it is just really.
I wish we had scratch and sniff.
Secret Samadhi.
Yeah.
Secret Samadhi. There it
Samadhi.
is. In the flesh.
Yeah. So the way it came to us is we have a friend who is a breeder, a very famous breeder, Nat Pennington of Humboldt Seed Company. And we've been getting seeds from him for a while because he's really kind of in the same neighborhood, and we go way back with old hippie San Francisco history and so on. And so he says, I got these seeds, but I don't know the name of it, right? I don't have a name for this brand new seed cultivar.
It's a combination. What it is it's a mix of blueberry muffin, watermelon, and wedding cake.
Wow.
Sounds pretty tasty.
Yeah,
right?
sounds really good.
Right.
It's got it's got kind of a tropical fruit nose on it, right? And rolls up really good. And then
sounds like
when you do the dry hit without lighting it, go ahead.
Sounds like the way you describe it sounds like a #1 record, just like Secret Samadhi went.
Yeah, I like that. that. I like that. Really,
So,
maybe we'll get a Grammy for it or whatever it is.
There you go.
Right?
But there's something, yeah, it's real fruity, tropical fruity, and all that sort of stuff. But
I think it smells like bubble gum.
yeah,
It's got that
Wow.
smell
but
to
I
it.
want to say there's something else in this that Nikki didn't want me to say, but to me, it's armpit. There's like, it's got that fruity, wonderful floral stuff, but then there's sort of like a masculine pheromone in there that it's like you guys just came off the stage from a heavy set,
I hear you.
and then you're open, right? You know, it's got some kick in it, right? So,
You
but
know,
otherwise, that it's like,
well, blueberry, watermelon, cake. Got to throw a little armpit in there just to throw it off a little bit. Too much, too
Right, a
sweet.
little armpit. Yeah, really. Exactly.
So yeah, but when you smoke it, also it's like there's a certain meaning of samadhi. Nikki said, look up samadhi, Swami,
Right.
and make sure you know what. Right now, I've been studying about samadhi for a long time, but if you Wikipedia it and so on, it's like it's a joining together of the fullness of consciousness, right? But it's
Right.
beyond things,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's beyond things, right? And
Exactly.
there's a certain kind of equanimity about it, you know, sort of like balancing of it,
Sure.
right? So it's the floral and the strong masculine as a balance, right?
Beautiful.
At any rate.
I like that. So
Yeah.
we'll just call it Ed Sweat. It
There you
smells
go.
like Ed Sweat. Right.
Yes, samadhi, you know, like you mentioned samadhi, and samadhi, just such a beautiful word. And it's one of those words, it's like it's a beautiful word for something that's very difficult to describe, if not impossible, right? Any kind of state
Right.
that you ever have or experience. How do you talk about it? How do you say it? What's really hard in
Right.
English, and those, you know, as well as I do, those Sanskrit terms, they just have so much emotion, and they have so much power, and they capture this somehow mysteriously. They capture this thing that you can't hardly describe, and they do. You know, they get close. They get pretty close, and I've always loved
Well,
the name of the record. I, you know, just sort of kind of popped into my head when we were making it, and it stuck. And I'm just thrilled that you know, this has come together like it has, because I think it's a wonderful name, and it's a great partnership.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And so how did you decide on that for the record album? I mean, 'cause you don't actually have a song called that, right?
No. Well, Chad, I'll tell you, we were down. We went to we spent a bunch of time down in Jamaica for that record. We for about a month or so took a bunch of recording stuff down there, and of course, you know, it was more of a hangout. We did music. Of course, we made music, but it was really just, we had been touring for a long time, and we were super kind of tired and just wanted to be brothers again and not worry about all that other stuff. And so it was a beautiful experience. That was a long time ago now, 1990. What was that? 97, Chad?
Oh yeah, long time ago, bud.
90. Well, it came out in 97, so
So we would have been down there.
96.
Yeah, maybe late 96, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
I know that at one point we had been.
okay.
No, was that a different record where we canceled a tour and we went to write? No, that was the next record. Oh no, they all run together. I want to say this, my favorite memory about the Secret Samadhi album title is you know, the band had really become just globally huge on the back of Throwing Copper, the record before Secret Samadhi. And for the first time in our lives, we were always on a small independent record label, but the big major label was now paying attention to us because we were selling, you know, so many albums.
Mm-hmm.
So we show up at, like, you know, the record label's office, and we're dealing with the art director, and he's like, well, what are you guys gonna call the record? And Ed says, yeah, Samadhi. And I could see everybody in the room start to look around like, oh yeah, we'll convince them to change that. And then only top that and then blow their minds and piss them off just a little bit more when we said, yeah, the first single is called Lakini's Juice. And they were like, oh my God, like, we're gonna lose the band. And then we finished it off. The coup de grace in the third piece was when we told them we wanted an all black record cover. So I don't know. Some people call that self-sabotage. I thought it was kind of unique of us at the time.
Well, I
Yeah,
think, you know, it was a time in our lives where we were just, we were up for anything, and we'd be coming off this huge success, and just figured, like, you know, let's do what we feel you know, and so, you know, the album title being obscure as it is, I just, you know, I was doing a lot. I've always been really, really powerfully interested in the Eastern and the spiritual traditions in India, of course. And so, and samadhi was a word that I had known for a long time and experienced, and it was just there, and it just kind of, like I said, just kind of like a light bulb just popped up in my head that, you know, this was that record. Because, you know, music, I wanted to say this too, is that music is, you know, we talk about like peak experiences that you get from music, and you could say that music, when you're really lost in it, is a kind of samadhi generator, you know. And then you have, you know, of course, the product that now this new secret samadhi cultivar. I mean, obviously that's a peak experience generator in its own right as well. And so it's just really cool to see it come full circle, because I feel like the more of those type of experiences, those expanding of consciousness experiences in your life, they never leave you the same. You always come back a little bit different, a little bit more wise, hopefully.
Right.
And I just think it's a beautiful, I think Swami selects such a beautiful, it's such a beautiful representation to the world from the world of cannabis, because it's very unique. You know, this is obviously not something Chad and I do for a lot of companies, and we're not involved in a lot of stuff. We were really about the music, and when we saw this potential partnership, we were really excited, because it's such, from top down, just such a wonderful expression, you know, and you can really feel it.
Yeah.
And of course the product, you can really feel it.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to hear about what you're saying about the Sanskrit words. Have this amazing quality to them. They have this harmonic built into them somehow or other. And I've just been I've been teaching a little course on the chakras, and so I'm really deep into, again, back getting all those Sanskrit words right on the tip of my tongue and so on. And then for samadhi, they say there's 7 layers to samadhi, right? And so it's almost like the 7 notes of the musical scale of the octave, you know, they're like 7 steps.
Sure.
And that 7 is another mystical number, right? And so you can have spontaneous samadhi by when you just kind of get a shiver up your spine, and you get this sort of bingo, a light goes off. And that's a samadhi that just about anyone can have, right? But then the higher level of samadhi are through the discipline, and you get that, like you said, you get that discipline in the trance state of music, right?
Sure.
When in the band, you're beyond your ego, you're just making the music, you are the music, you are the sound, and you just know, and then telepathically, you know, you go back and forth.
Yeah, right. In a way, it's a beautiful word for something that everybody experiences pretty regularly, you know. And some schools of thought, it's samadhi is also related to deep dreamless sleep, which everybody experiences every 24 hours, you know. So it's not some exotic thing. It's got a beautiful exotic name, but it's a common state, and then can become even more uncommon as, like you said, you bring into meditation and the disciplines, which then expand on it. And it's just a sort of endless journey into the depth, you know, of who we are.
So I've got to go. First of all, it is after 4:20 now. If you all want to,
anybody wants to smoke,
join in on your lighting up here. And
I'm smoking the secret samadhi, by the
way. I'm curious about a little bit of your history with cannabis. Like, so you guys, you grew up in York, Pennsylvania, which looks like a really interesting place. I mean, you're right, not far from so many other big cities. I mean, I have to admit, I looked at the real estate in York, Pennsylvania, and you could get some gorgeous homes back there for what we pay in California. I was amazed, you know.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah, California is so expensive.
And it's ridiculous. And I mean, York, Pennsylvania looks like a pretty groovy place, actually. So what was it like growing up there, and when did you guys first get high?
Hey, Chad, you go, Chad. He's in York, so he's better equipped than I am right now. Okay. We'll talk about it.
First of all, thank you for the compliment about York. It's interesting to have, you know, on sort of like the business card of live, as we traveled the world, everybody always says, oh, you're from York, Pennsylvania. When we would travel in Europe, people would think that it was a farm town. You know, they didn't understand quite its history. It has a significant history in United States history. Lafayette used to stay here. I mean, it's anybody that knows constitutional history will read about, know about York, Pennsylvania. And so the architecture is quite old. You know, it's commonplace to have buildings go up for sale that were built in the 1700s. And they've actually, some of them are still in really good repair. And you're correct, the dollar goes pretty far here in New York. We were for a long time a highly industrialized city, and there were a lot of hardworking blue collar jobs here. And really that's what Ed and I grew up around, blue collar people, our parents, you know, our friends, our family, all people that literally worked with their hands, worked with their heart, put in long ass days, really, I think in some cases for very little pay. And slowly but surely those mechanized or industrial jobs began to leave. And right about that time as they were leaving, that's really when our band was starting to, you know, sort of really push to get a record deal, push to put out music. And so that influenced us greatly. And you can hear sort of that blue collar ethos probably throughout every song. And then, you know, interesting enough, I don't know if I remember specifically the very first time I got high, but I remember very specifically the first time Ed and Patrick got high, which was there's a local radio station, 88.1, which is the York College radio station. And one of us had become brave enough to take one of our early cassette tapes into the radio station. And we convinced the radio station to play the song. And they said, you know, like, we're going to play it in 5 minutes. And anyway, the guys like scurried out of the radio station into Patrick's car to smoke a bowl and listen to live. But it was not called live at that time, but it was still the four of us. I just know that question because, you know, like I think that was the very first time. I don't know for me.
I don't know how you remember that shit. You got the mind of an elephant. You got the brain of an elephant. I don't know how you remember having stuff. I remember, yeah, Patrick and I, we got preface. We've been a band since we were 13 years old. I've known Chad since I was 5. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, we've grown up together.
Cool.
I mean, obviously. And no, Chad's right, because the first time I got high was with Patrick. Yeah. And we were probably 13. Wow. Yeah. Better, yeah. I have 13 or 14. And I remember I was kind of like the guy who always had it, even though I wasn't a big fan at that time. It wasn't something I really, really super enjoyed until I was much older. Back then it was more like a kind of a rebel stance, you know, hey, I got a joint, you know, wow, dude, I'm a big tough guy, you know. And I just remember Patrick should be on. We got to do one of these again so Patrick can be on, because Patrick, he's a connoisseur, to say the least. And I remember him and I, you know, we used to go to these dance clubs in downtown York. There's one called Big City where they would play all of our type of music, like, you know, like the alternative style music of the mid to late 80s. And we used to, you know, blow a little bit before we would go in there on a Friday night. And I remember Patrick, I had a joint, and I remember Patrick and I sitting in his little Ford Fiesta out back of the Big City, and I remember he smoked a little bit for the first time, and we went into the club and we're dancing around, and we used to wear all black. We had our hair, obviously that's not here anymore, but we had our hair all done like, you know, Duran Duran style and everything, and we were in there, you know, kicking it with the 80s vibe. And Patrick comes up to me, and I'm thinking, I wonder if he enjoyed this, you know, and he comes up to me about an hour later, he goes, hey, yo, Ed, let's go back out to the Ford real quick. And hit it again. So that the rest is history. And the people who know Patrick know he's a very enthusiastic smoker. Yeah, he never stopped. So he gives me a hard time. He said, "You stop for a while, and I just went crazy with it." You know, so all good.
Well,
you got to get Patrick on.
So Chad Gracie, our drummer, and I remember the first time like being completely wrecked with him was in London, of all things. We had gone over, it was probably our very first trip to England. And of course, it's no big, you know, we were all just around the age of 20, 21. It's no big deal to be 21 and get a drink in England. That doesn't exist, the rules that we have in America. So the guy that was leading us around with the record company, it was the classic thing where they took like the young intern guy and they were like, lead the band around London. And we stopped off at his apartment and they gave us hash tea. And
oh,
I remember
oh,
we drank the hash
okay.
tea and I remember thinking, well, I don't feel anything. Classic thing, you know? And the guy's like, well, here, you know, you might want to just eat some. So,
Oh, jeez.
oh, I didn't know. I was game. So anyway, we wound up eating the rest of this hash and then going to Harrods of London, which is like a very touristy thing to do. But
What a weird thing to do.
Like Bloomingdale's or something.
And at one point, we all went in. They had a mattress section, and we were all like laying on the mattresses, and like the people were coming around.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, to be like used basically
So
fucking awesome. I want to say this to be serious. You know, I've been back to London. I don't know how many dozens, and that's still my very best trip to London.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Our first trip, that was our first trip overseas, I think.
wow.
On Mental Jewelry, which would have been like 91.
Wow. And are you have any tours planned again? I mean, can you even plan anything with COVID? You just have to wait and see when it's able to, or what are you thinking?
Well,
Still going to Australia, maybe?
We had an Australian tour scheduled for this year. Obviously, that didn't happen in April. We also had, we've postponed, still trying to figure out what's going on with our South African tour that we had scheduled for November, which looks like that's going to move to 2021. Right now we have, I got dog barking. They have a dog barking.
Yeah.
Someone's
Who's got the
mute.
dog barking there?
Is that a dog or is that
There we go. I think that may have done it. Okay.
So it looks like right now we have, correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, but I think our first show that we have is a festival out in California called Aftershock. I think it's in September. It's supposed to be,
great.
you know, this massive thing, but everybody's sort of like, you know, okay, it's, you know, it's on as long as everything kind of falls into place. So I really don't think the band will tour in anybody's going to do any kind of significant touring until at least, unfortunately, probably 2022 at this point, because of the way things are. I do think we'll start to see shows. The word is we'll start to see shows this year, here and there, you know, possibly in the summer. They're talking about all kinds of stuff, but I think we're the light at the end of the tunnel is the vaccine, obviously, and then but what we're hearing is, you know, really back to normal, not this year, you know, probably start to get there towards the fourth quarter, but then next year will be the real, okay, now we're back.
Oh, I hope you come to California for that in September, though.
That'd be great.
That would be great.
But in 2019, you had a big European tour, right? You went through Germany and various places like that. What was the highlight of that tour?
Oh man, so many. That was, well, the band was apart. We separated for about 6 years from 2009 to 2016. The band got back together, and one of the first things we did in 2017 when we started to play shows was we went to Europe. We did a big show in Holland, and then we did a European tour. Yes, like you mentioned, was it 2018 or 2019? We've been back to Europe a few times since the reunion, and they're just magnificent. I mean, Holland for the band is always a highlight. And people laugh when I say that. They say, "What's your favorite city and what's your best crowds?" Or all the crowds are amazing, but what stands out to you, say in Europe? Or I always say Amsterdam. Everybody's, "Oh yeah, we know why," but it's honestly really, besides all the, you know, freedoms, it's a beautiful place to be. The museum culture there is out of this world. It's an incredible place to have, you know, if you're going to hub and sort of what we do is we actually stay in Amsterdam a lot of times for up to maybe 2 weeks and then just go out from there. So it becomes kind of a second home. So Amsterdam is, I miss it dearly. I miss traveling in general. Obviously we all do, but Amsterdam's a highlight every time we go, because we sort of set up home camp there, and the Dutch are amazing.
No, I agree. I agree. Also, Amsterdam. I've been to Amsterdam many times. We've been there. It's we have a lot of friends there too. It's a great, great city. There's a great club scene. They're really into music, and
Yep.
There's a friend of mine was the poet laureate of Holland for a while, so we used to hang with him. He would come visit us in Goa and so on. And Hans Plump was his name, right? And the whole Reichsort thing, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Amsterdam's a great place. And
So I've got a question that somebody asked that kind of just fits into what we were talking about before about getting high and going on stage. So they're asking, what is your source of inspiration for most of the music that you write?
Source of
inspiration. Yeah.
Oh, for lyrics, music, I guess, I've always been I consider myself a contemplative, somebody who studies the spiritual traditions and loves that regardless of besides music, and so that's always been a place there's been a bridge there, it's from being interested in these teachings and then having the outlet and loving to sing and being in a great band, and it all just comes together in that sense to make the lyrics, interesting and give me a way to express that. Not necessarily like, oh, believe this or here's what I think, or it's not a didactic preaching type of thing. It's more of an exploration, just like meditation and the contemplative life is. It's an exploration, and music, this is like the soundtrack for that.
Yeah,
that's how I always.
So do you write the lyrics first or music first? And do you write the lyrics and Chad writes the music? How do you guys work?
We collaborate a lot on music. I do them lyrics and melodies, and I've always written them together at this sort of simultaneously at the same time. I've never written lyrics down as poetry first. People have asked me if I would ever do that, and I don't know. I for me, the lyrical melody and is one. It comes as one sort of package, and then the words sometimes they separated out as poetry, they read kind of cool, and it's like, oh, that kind of stands alone. Sometimes not as much, but if you listen to the song, it all makes sense, kind of. So usually at the same time. I don't think I've ever written down words prior to the song being written and saying, okay, I'm gonna make these a song. It's more of my friend, I'm really good friends, you guys probably know Alex Gray. The painter.
Yeah.
He paints all the really cool stuff for Tool and the spiritual stuff.
Oh, he's amazing.
He asked me that question a long time ago, and I explained the process to him. He said, "Oh, it's like emergence. It's like you're just allowing it to come out." That's the process. Not like okay, here's the music, here's the words, let's motion it. No, it's all a one sort of process. Yeah. And Chad, of course, he gives me, from this record Secret Samadhi, the first single is called Lakini's Juice, Chad's legendary riff, chung 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 chung. He handed me that on an airplane, and it was just that playing over and over again. I'm like, whoa, this is dope. What am I going to sing to this? And so it was really fun to come up with stuff. That's how we work as a band. We'll come up with the band coming up with things really challenges me in a unique way because I'm not in control of the music, which usually a lot of times I'll sit and write song, flesh it out on acoustic guitar with just the chords, but I'll get ideas from the band really are inspiring and challenging because it's like, oh, I'm not okay, hands off the music, I'm just coming up with melody and lyrics. So we've always done that both of those ways, and that's why I think the records are so interesting, is because it kind of flips back and forth from songs that I've really fleshed out as sort of a singer-songwriter and the band plays, and then ideas that I didn't generate musically, and it all comes together to make the albums really, I think, eclectic, like a lot of different flavors,
Nice. No, you can definitely feel
how we were.
Go ahead.
What I was going to say is when Ed was describing earlier about how young we were when we met each other, it's interesting. I loved music. I loved the challenge of trying to learn how to play my instrument and all those things. But I didn't really see it as anything that I wound up doing for the rest of my life. It was really when Ed and I started getting in these in-depth conversations, in particular about his interest in Eastern spirituality. Trust me, I was not studying that. I was not looking for that. That was all Ed on his own. And so I'm just an inquisitive guy. So he'd bring up some subject and I'd say, hold on, tell me more about that. And we spent hours and hours and hours on those discussions, not really saying, oh, we're going to, formulate this into a song. But I think that Ed really set the doctrine for the band of how we would write music. And then I can remember at some point, writing some infantile version of a song, 3 chords and the truth or something, and handed it to Ed. And he put some, amazing lyrical spin on it. And, you talk about samadhi, but that's where it all connected in my brain. I went, oh my God, this has a much higher purpose than just the chords or the vibration, and that it's a really profound communication tool. And so first that love really started. I was intrigued every time I wrote a song. I was so intrigued to see what Ed would come back with. And then when it really combined, became magical, was at times where we were in a room with no agenda whatsoever, and something literally would just spontaneously come out of us. And those were the moments that I was always like, okay, that's not of me, that's not of Ed, that's not of Chad or Patrick, that's some higher thing. And I think once we tapped into that love and could find that on stage, because the band became really good, and we're still really good at finding that chemistry with each other on stage. And now it's interesting because it's not the 4 guys locking up in that same mechanism. It's actually the 4 guys and then a crowd of several thousand people. And so, once you get that vibe and that chemistry, I will say this, it's the most addictive thing I know. Yeah. If I'm addicted to getting on that, feeling that with all those people.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's that interchange. You're getting energy from the crowd and you're sending it right back with one little spin cycle on it. So it gets to the next higher level. That's what they say about the most ancient scriptures, is that the sadhu or the holy man, he heard it. It was downloaded. He heard it. So that's why I can see when Ed is saying, you hear the music and the words together. They're not separate. You hear them, and the mantras are that. It's like it comes into your mind out of the Akashic records, the highest level of space where all thoughts, and in fact, all rhythms as well, all musical rhythms are all already stored up in the Akashic records, and we download the ones that we are in tune with, and there's still many more to come, and we're thrilled at the ones we get, and we keep practicing them. So, and it's a never-ending source.
That's true.
That's true.
So, Chad, you're an amazing guitarist, I want to say, and we actually have a question from Audrey, who says she's been learning the guitar for about a year, and she does you have any advice or guitar playing tips? I mean, this is kind of one of them, I would say, is just letting the spirit come through you in a sense. But do you have any other sort of things you could pass on to Audrey?
Yeah, the first rule is you have to constantly have fun. I think that so many young musicians lose the spirit of music by getting too serious too fast. I think, get a guitar with a guitar strap and jump around with it and, bang it, make noise. I always tell everybody, it's just a big hunk of wood. I know that they put pretty finishes on them and all those things, but I think it's where you can put that instrument on and then have fun like you were a little kid and laugh at yourself when you make mistakes. Some of the very best things I've written have been, for example, where I wasn't really consciously trying to play the instrument at all. I was just goofing about. And then I said, that's interesting. Let me repeat it a few times, possibly record it. And then the way that stuff usually works, it's almost like a fish line. Like I'll just shoot Ed a tiny little snippet of something and he'll say, I don't want to eat that one. And then occasionally he'll go, oh, I'm on to that. I'm hooked. And what's interesting, actually, he mentioned Lakini's Juice earlier. I was going to throw that song away. I literally, I thought it was horrible. I didn't really think it was a song. And he found it on the cassette and he was like, whoa, this is great. And I thought to myself, really? And I was like, what has he been smoking?
Well, it was like you
Great
sent me like
song.
it was like you sent me a puzzle to figure out how to put together. I took it like that because I remember
Right.
thinking, this is so musical and so weird and so great. I don't know what I'm going to sing to it. And I remember I did it on an airplane actually, that the initial verses and stuff. And I thought, okay, now we're on to something because, you know, we had such a blank slate after throwing Copper. You know, we were just like, okay, all this touring and stuff, and it's like zero. Okay, what are you doing next? You know, and then it becomes all about this next revolution in your life and dreaming it up again. And I remember just being always at the beginning of that process, being like, oh God, what are we going to do? You know, we got nothing. You know, we got to start from something. What's it going to be about? How's it going to sound? And when Chad sent me that, I thought this is the jumping off point because it's so unique and so strange and so exactly where we are, just this place in our career where it really fit because we didn't know what we were going to do next. And I remember hearing that riff and thinking, now I know. Like I didn't know consciously, but I felt it. Like now I can jump from here, you know, and that's what we did. Yeah, yeah. Don't throw anything out.
No,
Right,
exactly.
out,
No, it's like what you're talking. Those mistakes. You sometimes you've had a mistake, and if you then say that's not a mistake, that's taking me off the beaten path, and let's see where that goes. And I think that's key to all arts, you know.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's not so
time.
far off from being a farmer too. You know, you're playing around in the garden out there and waiting to see what happens. And sometimes the things you think are going to be the worst end up being the stoniest. So, you know, we all have to be open to the surprises a little bit, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the most fun thing and the most interesting about being an artist, being in a band, any kind of artist really, being in a band is the unknown aspect of the fact that, you know, you're making it up as you go. You know, and you're waiting for the signs and you're trying to find and you know, it's a spiritual path in a lot of ways. You know, it's very similar to anything like that because you're constantly pushing into this sort of probability cloud of what's possible. And that's a scary place to be, but it's also a very exciting place. And I don't think any of us would trade it for anything. You know, yeah, there's, you know, obviously when we were thinking about doing a rock band, the whole world wanted us to, you know, get a job and be stable, you know, have a stable income.
Yeah, right.
And what is it? Gainful employment, you know? And of course, that's always hanging over your head when you're younger, like when you're starting this band. So right from the beginning, there's this sense of you need courage, you know, and where do you get that courage? Well, you get it from the music, you get it from the faith in you have in yourself and your band. And it's every bit as spiritual path as any other, you know, I think.
Right, exactly. So we got a bunch of these questions I wanted to kind of go through from some people, especially I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Carly, is it Carl? Instead of Charles, it's Carl Nickens, whose birthday it is today. And I hope I'm saying that right. Carl's instead of Charles, I think. And happy birthday, first of all. And he says that his favorite song is still Brothers Unaware. And he's, you know, been to see you in Louisiana every time he came through. And if he wants to say, why was that song taken off the playlist? Because it's so timely, and it really is timely. It's an amazing song. I was listening to it. So they're really hoping that, you know, you're going to play it for them again someday, which also is another question someone else had, Sharon Fay, is, are you going to do any virtual shows maybe while we're waiting for COVID to go away?
Yeah.
So have you thought about that?
You know, it's been a process. Maybe, you know, when this whole thing went down, we were obviously had so much planned this year in the real world, you know, like the real sense of things, you know, playing and then when this happened, you know, it just was such a reckoning moment where you think, okay, well, yes, you can do things online, yes, you can do things on your phone, and it's fine once in a while, but you know, it's just missing something for me. I just, you know, it's just the whole, I need, you know, there's just, not that you know, okay, you need the audience, but there's also just this synergy that happens. There's this reason for being that it's hard to generate when you're staring at your phone, you know? And so I'm still kind of going through it. I don't know if we'll do anything. Hopefully we'll get everything together and we can come to your local theater soon and put our phones down.
That's right.
For once, you know, it was like I just felt like before COVID, it was, you know, phones, internet. And now, then after COVID, more phones, more internet. And it's like, I'm just dying for like all that stuff to just to get back in a sweaty ass rock and roll venue with people, man. I'm just like, and so every time there's an opportunity to do this little thing on the phone or whatever, I was like, ugh, how much longer till hey, what's that vaccine news? When's that coming? When's that coming?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
But they do have programs so you can actually make music on a Zoom kind of thing, and it gets synchronized in. It's high tech and so on. It's a possibility. But you know, it's like, it's a moment. What I was going to say in terms of, we were talking about all the spiritual stuff, and Nikki has a phrase that she likes to put out, was like, just another lesson in non-attachment, right? And so that's what, you know, all the spiritual teachings, they always come back to that projected out, that desired, what you really want to happen on the threshold, and then it's taken away. And the Buddhist teaching is about that, the suffering and so on. So the non-attachment, now it's about as easy for me to say that as to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? It's very easy to say, well, a lesson in non-attachment. And that's the lesson, because it's not easy to let go, right? Of a planned future that you had pictured so wonderfully. And likewise, because so many other people who are looking forward to your tour, for example, they likewise had a picture of that expected experience that they were hoping for. And so you're feeling at the same time, you're feeling the projection of their disappointment, right? And
absolutely.
So it's coming from you, and you're feeling it perhaps a lot more than you might otherwise because of that collective. All the people here are here, you know, because of you, and they say, wow, I miss them so much. And so you miss them. And this is the thing that we have to transcend that, because now into the metaphysical plane, it's our thought connections. So the Zoom is just a toy, but the real thing is our psychic connection through our 6th and 7th chakras. That's a bit heavy stuff. I better stop there.
No, I think it's a wonderful explanation of it, and I think we're all in this sort of global shakeup together, and it's going to be. I just can't stop thinking about and being excited about the sheer joy that people, and I'm going to feel it. The band's going to feel it. The people, when we can finally stand up on a stage. In front of a couple thousand people and dig into this music again, it's going to be like the first time. It's going to feel like, it's going to feel so crazy. And, you know, it took I guess at that point we'll be thinking, oh, it took a pandemic to get us here. But I really feel like that's a light at the end of the tunnel that I continually look at, because I just think, I'm just imagining how I'm feeling about it, you know. And then imagining how all the fans and people that want to see shows are feeling about it, and that explosion of appreciation and joy that is going to be unlike, I think, anything we can imagine. I think it's going to. I think live music in some way will be bigger than ever, because it'll be more important than ever, and it'll be like that thing that we lost. You know, when you lose something.
Right.
And it's like, oh shit, we got it back. Wow. You know, I know that's how that's what I'm expecting, you know, from my perspective. I'm just to get up on stage and also to go to shows, which I do a lot. So we'll see.
I just want to say, Ed and Jack, when that show happens, when that first show happens, Nikki and I want to be in the green room and getting you super stoned on some Swami Select. So
secret samadhi, baby.
Make sure we're in the loop when that's happening.
That's right.
We'll set some special aside.
Easy peasy.
So, we're all looking forward to that. Just keep in mind that flow of connection between you and the people in you, and it keeps going out psychically now. and we have that responsibility to keep that flow moving. So
Sure.
the blessings of all come for everybody.
And hey, Swami, I'll have you know, this is the first time I've done this Zoom thing since this whole thing started.
All right.
This is the first time Chad and I have done this.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've done Zoom on a couple things for business, but I never did any. This is like our first foray into the new virtual audience space. So we're appreciative to.
Well, see, I mean, it's a great.
We could do it with you.
Look at all these people.
It's a new art form.
Mean, all these people came out because they wanted to talk with you guys. So I think you
see you.
By the way,
this
hi
on
everybody.
A regular basis.
I can only see you guys.
Yeah.
I can see you. I can see Chad. I can see like 4 people, but hi everybody.
Oh no, you can do.
People.
No, wait. Let me tell you what to do. Ed,
yeah,
go
I'm
up to the top right hand on your screen.
Oh yeah, I can click
on the type right hand. There's something that says view, and there's a little grid pattern.
Yeah,
and if you click on that kind of grid pattern, you'll see everybody.
And there's a couple of pages on the far
there
right.
You
there's
are.
a blue arrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
I've done it.
And everybody can say hi and so on. So we've been doing these with a lot. We have a little group that gathers every Tuesday night, and we just tell a story. We have a theme. Like one day it'll be like, well, whatever dream you had or something, and everyone in the group will then have like 10 minutes to tell a story. Either they make up or mostly from their own life or something like that.
Fun.
And so it's kind of fun, but it's just that we see faces and we hear sounds, and that that sort of is it's kind of fun.
But there's a certain there's definitely a Zoom etiquette that people start to learn. But the thing that I'm digging about Zoom is that it gives us the opportunity to be in the same room with people from literally all over the world. I mean, I can't even imagine where all of these, 72 people on here come from, all over the planet probably. And that's just something we wouldn't get to do if we were all just going out to stores to see our friends and that sort of thing. I mean, you actually get to really talk to people. And I think that's a blessing. That's something we've learned that's been a really cool thing to learn.
It's almost like telepathy. Like we've got this like telepathy.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Pictures, but we still need the electronic tool.
Yeah, no, it's true. So okay, there's another thing. Another way that you guys have obviously gotten out there is through music videos. And I have this one question from Joy D, who's saying that the song Turn My Head on Secret Samadhi, which is absolutely a beautiful song, a stunning song. She's curious about the video that's directed by Jake and Mary. And if you could give a little more talk about the original video, like where it was shot and any historical locations or something, what's that all about? Because it does have a really interesting video, because that's kind of the old-fashioned way that we would communicate with people, was through videos.
Sure.
The MTV when that first came out was huge.
That would have been 1997. And well, the initial video, we had worked with Jake Scott on a huge, our really successful Lightning Crashes video from the record before that. And so we wanted to work with Jake again. It's just such a beautiful job on that video. And he had this idea to use the paintings of this American painter called John Register, and actually kind of put us in these Register kind of paintings, these kind of vibes that he was imagining. And I thought it was a cool, I just wanted the band to perform. I wanted us to be really sort of honest in it. And I didn't want a whole lot of, crazy production, just a really beautifully shot photographic thing. And we knew he could do that because he had done it for us before. And so we merged his approach then with Chad. Remember, we did the rest of it with Mary Lambert in Lancaster in our old rehearsal place, which was an old bank that we had bought at that time and was headquartered out of there. So it's two directors kind of merged together. But the initial inspiration from Jake was these paintings by this man named John Register, and trying to kind of put the band in these scenarios that would throw to his art in a way. And that's what else is there, Chad? What can you remember about that video?
I remember we were excited to shoot it because we got to sit around a lot. We didn't work too much in the video. We were reluctant video makers. We were more just guys that like literally, I don't know. You know, videos are a whole art form. We were like, we're not actors, we're musicians, you know. So our natural thing was to hold our instruments. But when it became very easy then when Mary Lambert decided to shoot in Lancaster. One of the scenes is at a bar called the Historic Blue Star, which I don't actually think exists anymore. And so one of the ways that they convinced us to participate in the video was they put us in a bar so we could drink. So, I don't know. I guess that's how you get a rock band to show up and work. Oh, and they surrounded us with pretty girls. I do remember that.
Right. Sounds about right.
That's funny. Okay, so let's see. I'm just trying to get this here. So let's see. With a couple other questions that we have from people here. So these guys asking, Matthew Morici is saying that, you know, you're absolutely their favorite band. You have so many fans. It's unbelievable. It's great. So they want to know, he wants to know kind of if you're going to be releasing any new music, and that would be great. And if you ever feel for what tone album of yours would be if you were to make a new one, basically, if you would be changing at this point, or what you think the new feeling would be. Any plans for that?
You know, I mean, we had, you know, obviously our plans for this year included a fair amount of touring that was disrupted. So, you know, we had kind of looked at the summer as a time to get together and make a record or start to work on things. And just the way the year's been going, I mean, I have, just from my personal perspective, you know, like I have 4 kids that have been home from school, you know, doing homeschooling, all this stuff. It's like everybody's living this sort of different life, you know, this different rhythm. And for me as an artist, I'm still trying to kind of figure out how it all, you know, how to make sense of it all and make a record in the midst of all this. And instead of, you know, really sort of worrying about it, I've just decided, you know, for me, you know, the band's in great spirits. We talk all the time. It's more of, I feel like it's, you know, like those periods in your life where you're sowing and not reaping yet. Like you're sowing and like you're going inward, you're reading, you're studying, you're doing your thing, you're living your life. You're not necessarily exploding with new activity. You know, I've embraced this period as that, you know, that kind of a chance to go inward and a chance to really kind of, hey, the world's throwing this big, like no holds barred break at us, you know, like you're done. You can either fight that or you can say, you know what, I'm gonna roll with that because we were pretty busy the last couple of years, and let's dig in, let's dig deep and you know, live that life that you need to live to come, you know, so that when you do pick things back up again, you've got something to say, you've got something to think about, you've got a new chapter to engage in. And so instead of, you know, I'm not one of these guys that sits around like, oh, you know, I gotta, you know, like down in Nashville, you had nothing, not knocking those guys. Like I'm gonna write music from 9 to 3 today. And if I don't, I'm gonna be really disappointed in myself. You know, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm more the kind of guy of like, you know, the guitar will just sit there in the corner and I'll walk by it in the morning, I'll look at it, I'll go, no, don't want to play you right now. Maybe later. You know, I'm kind of in that kind of space, you know, rather than saying, okay, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna get to work, you know. And that's really just the fact that the world is the way it is, and just sort of embracing it, saying, you know, we're really busy. Let's not be afraid to take this time because it's going to be over. You know, we're going to be back at this 100% very, very soon, I'm sure. And I want to make sure we take full advantage. I mean, I'm speaking personally. You know, I want to make sure I take full advantage of that and really go deep within so that when the next thing does come out, it's full of that passion and energy that people expect from us.
For me personally, about the idea of writing new songs is interesting because like, I don't know, you guys just mentioned something about, you know, the relationship in between music and farming. You know, songs are very much like the seed that you plant in the ground. And one of the things is you plant them, and let's face it, you don't stand over the seed every day waiting for it to sprout and to come up. No, you plant the seed and then you go about doing other things, because that's the life of farming. And for Ed and I know that those seeds have been planted. They just haven't shown up yet as songs. Like, they're in the soil. I'm 100% certain about that. So then our job is going to be to nurture them. A lot of that just has to do with, keeping ourselves sound, like keeping ourselves mentally fit, so that when there is an opportunity to come back together and to work, that we're actually ready to be in the room. Because I think that in our past,
Right.
I mean, especially because, look, we were all young men and went through, like, a sort of meteoric rise into being a really big and popular band. And at the same time, we're trying to figure out how to be men, how to, like, start families and do all those things. It's very complex. No one ever wants to hear any musician ever complain. I've got nothing to complain about. I'm just saying that was one of the more complex things. And so you'd suddenly show up in a room and be prepared to work, and, I don't know, somebody's kid is sick and they, rightfully have to go and take care of that, whatever it might be. But you can show up in the room and be distracted. Now we're, I would say, sophisticated enough to understand that while we have this time off, it's about, nurturing our mental and spiritual health, so that when we're in the room with each other, bam, it's on right away.
Yes.
Right.
I agree.
Right. Interesting.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So in farming, we also talk about how the
Nice.
land has to lie fallow, right? That you have this planting of the seed, and then the watching it grow and the harvesting, but then there's that space in between, the lying fallow. And it's not really a negative thing. It's just the soil regenerating itself. And if I can throw this in, it also works like Om. When you have Om, which is 3 parts, right? A-U-M, Aum, and waking, dreaming, sleeping. And then you have the 4th part, which is the space between 2 Oms, right? So you have the 3 parts of Om, and then the 4th is the space between, and that's the higher state that you're talking about, that we get through samadhi and state. So it works with farming, it works with music, and the symbology is all unified.
That's a wonderful way to see it.
Amen.
Yeah. That's cool. That is cool. So
Super
one
cool.
other question that coming from Justin that I'm actually curious about too. Do you guys have a favorite venue that you've ever played, or a favorite concert that just sticks out in your head that you just cherish that memory?
Chad, what's yours? I'm curious to hear his.
Jeez.
This is a tough one.
I'll pick one. There's just a unique thing in history. We were the last event, but specifically the last concert to ever be in the old Boston Garden. And there was something just very unique about being there and playing that show, and knowing that after we were done, they were literally going to tear the place down. And it was sold out. And those old venues are quite different than a modern arena. The seats, literally, I'm telling you, they went straight up in the air. So it felt like you were playing an old Roman Coliseum. And we played that room, with maybe particular gusto. And then uniquely though, then we were the first band to go back and then play what's now called the new TD Center. So we saw, like, the end of one era and then the beginning of another. And so those are kind of cool things. We're just thinking about, I don't know, there's something about, like, I don't know, rowdy Irish fans, like, that were in Boston or something. I don't know. They really resonated with me, and it felt like the music was super cool. And by the way, I could probably list 1,000 other venues. There's going to be somebody on here going, "Oh, you didn't pick my gig or my venue," but honestly, it popped into my head.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, so many. I mean,
it seemed like, Eddie, it seemed like the one at the Live at the Paradiso, like, the energy that came off of that show. Like, I don't know if you guys did that in one take or not, but like the simultaneous clapping on I Alone and all that type of stuff was unbelievable.
Yes, that was one take. That DVD for Live at the Paradiso in Holland, it was we didn't do any overdubbing. That was completely the live tracks from the stage, all one take. We did film 2 nights, but one take of each, full concert. And then I think we used mostly the second night anyway. So it's really a top down live concert,
like the bird's eye view of that with the clapping really and everything. Unbelievable.
And I will say this about Paradiso, it's a beautiful show. It's a beautiful place to see because of the stained glass and the beautiful like old church vibe of it. It's a great place to film. It sounds like crap inside it. It was just a terrible sounding venue, but it's one of those venues that you just want to play because it's so freaking cool. It's right in downtown Amsterdam. It's absolutely beautiful. It's legendary. And then you get up there and you go, yep, I remember it sounded just this bad last time.
I remember the Paradiso also, yeah.
And you just kind of smile.
They used to have a place at the door. There used to be a place at the door of the Paradiso that you could have it they would take a sample of your psychedelic and test it for you to see if it was something bad. And then then you'd be free. I mean, this is back really in the 70s and so on. When you walked in, there was free psychedelic testing service that you weren't getting a heavy methadone hit or something. It was really genuine acid. And, just those little touches that Amsterdam offers,
Yeah, they have they have that reputation, and it's such a beautiful place. That's a great venue. There's another great venue there that we've had incredible shows. Is the Heineken Music Hall. It's a really beautiful venue, more modern. It's just great. There's so many venues in Holland because so many of them are subsidized or were up until recently by the government. So per capita, Amsterdam has more venues than pretty much anywhere because of this support that they've received from the government and the arts over the years. Unfortunately, I think that's waned in the last decade or so, but it makes it a really unique city for the arts because of how much support it gets. I'm sure they're struggling. I'm sure they're struggling just like everybody else is now in terms of the venues. But Amsterdam was a place where you always could go and know that, you're not going to find a city with more varied flavors in terms of these beautiful old theaters, these rock clubs, these arenas. Everything is right there, and it's an exciting place to go and play the different places. We've been blessed with that because we've of course started in the Milky Way, the little club, and then we've played all of them. Now up to the biggest ones and the big festivals.
Ed, tell them the story about sitting in front of the Milkweg. That was
gosh. I guess okay. Yeah. So this is a funny story. So we first time we went to Holland. We were playing in Amsterdam. We were playing the old Milky Way, and I think we were opening. Maybe we were headlining, but it was like a weekday night. Nobody really knew who we were yet. We just put out the first album, not Throwing Copper, and I remember we were all milling around. It was hot, sunny day. We had just sound checked. We're milling around outside the Milky Way down by the canal there, and the canal that runs right beside it. And this Dutchman says to me, "Hey, what's your band? You're playing here tonight." I said, "Yeah, we're playing the Milky Way. Our band, we're from the States, and our band's called Live." And he looked at me and he said, "Nobody's coming."
Nice.
and so every time we play in Holland now, with its Pink Pop and there's 75,000 people, I always say they came. Yeah. Nobody was coming.
Yeah, they came. They came. All right. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Julio has a really good question that I'm also curious about. This is sweet. So when you guys got back together playing, obviously you'd been friends since you were kids, and then you take this break starting in 2009, and then you get back together. What was that like when you come back together? What's that like for a band? I mean, was that emotional? Was it like you click right in like you'd never stopped, or what was that like?
Well, it's magical at both those things. You go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, well, what I would say is, had I had any idea how good it would feel to reunite, it would have never, our hiatus would have never lasted as long as it did. Like it was.
Right.
I will say this though, about the first time that we were on stage together, we had decided to come out and, we made the front half of the set really aggressive, like more upbeat, up-tempo songs. And I don't know if we were 4 songs in, but Ed and I both turned our back to the crowd, like right in between a song, gasping for air because our adrenaline had hit, like, unlike it normally hits you on stage. And I was like, we were sucking wind. Like, oh my God, this is insane. Like, the feeling was, we were really excited and jubilant, but yet at the same time, completely gassed and winded. And the way that we, kind of like do it on stage is, as soon as Chad Gracie feels like the next song should start, like basically he'll just click it off and go right in. And it was like he had never missed a beat. And we're like going, okay, so let's slow down. I need a drink of water. I got to think. Gracie's like 2, 3, 4, right into the song. We're like, oh my God, give us a break.
Seriously.
Yes,
it was
That's
super.
amazing.
It was really fun. It was super emotional. It was a lot like riding a bike. I mean, we just kind of jumped up there, and we were all floored when we got off stage. Just how much fun we had, but how natural it felt. Like we didn't really, like, no time had passed.
Right.
But
well,
we
you hadn't
played,
even practiced together during those years, or had you gotten together?
no,
just to
nothing. It was a total,
Nothing.
yes, 6 years. And so, for 5 or 6 years, and was it 6? Closing on 7, actually. So it was a long time. But, if you really look at it, you zoom out and you look at our entire career and how long we've known each other and how many hours we've played together and been together.
Yeah.
It's a small fraction of a break when you really look at all that time. I mean, so that all of that time that we spent together since we were little kids, that was the riding the bike part, so that when we played again, even though it had been what most people would consider a really long time, and it was a long time, it didn't feel like it at all. It felt like, oh yeah, that's what we do. Easy peasy,
I love it.
fun. Yeah.
Just love it. God, well, I sure hope that we do get to see you play live again some point soon, because I've only seen you play live in videos and heard all these amazing stories, and you really, guys, you put out a lot of energy up there. It's amazing. And
Thank you.
that'll keep you in shape, that's for sure. So I'm so excited about when we get to actually experience this and do it.
Absolutely. And I want to
Any more
thank you guys.
questions?
And I want to thank you guys for having us, and obviously our partnership and our with Secret Samadhi and Swami Select. It's a wonderful thing. I'm so happy about it, and I can't wait to come out and see the farm and hang out when this is when the coast is clear.
Yeah, right, literally. Well, we really look forward to it.
Yeah.
Oh, and we see our mutual friend Chris Slight has come on here now. So hi, Chris.
Uh-oh.
Great to see you.
Hey, Chris.
Yay.
What's up,
We're
dude?
having a blast talking to these guys. And thank you for the introduction, because this is just so cool to meet you folks.
Yeah,
And
right.
we could talk for days, and I'm sure we should do this again.
Yeah.
We should definitely do
Absolutely.
one of these again.
Yeah. Well, with the other 2 guys in the band too. And I also want to say that this is the most we've ever had on a session,
Oh
right?
yeah, amazing.
Session was
Oh,
phenomenal.
fabulous.
So we want to thank
Yeah.
everybody for coming on, and thank you guys
Good
for
deal.
being here, and all the new people and so on. And it's just great to see all your smiling faces on the screen, little size, and it's like this one's smiling and laughing and so on. So yeah, it's really fun to so you got now.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you
you
go.
guys, you got
Okay.
the floor now. Is either one of you want to say anything right now, or just, I don't know, just what pops into your head, or
Any kind of wrap up
any
sort of
kind of
situation.
wrap up,
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody just, listen, man, peace out. Just get in that zone and peace out. We're gonna, this is the calm before the this is that resting period, where everything's kind of strange, but it's gonna pop off here any minute. I really feel like, last year I was like month to month going, oh man, when are we gonna come back? Like, this is crazy. Now, I don't know. I mean, I'm getting that spider, what do they call the spidey sense about, we're getting ready to sort of kick up some dust here. I think everybody keep the faith. We love you. And thanks for being here. And let's,
we have overcome, Eddie. That's what it is.
Absolutely. I believe that. And I think, the future's bright, baby. Let's get out there and rock soon.
Yes. Yes, we're dying to dance. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
God, Yeah, I bet. And I just can't say what a pleasure it is to meet you. And I just can't wait till it's in person.
I just want to say also, we now learned about the pandemic of 1918, just over 100 years ago. But remember, after that were the Roaring Twenties, right? And so we all know about the Roaring Twenties. That could easily be what's in store for us now. But we want to make sure that we share it and we celebrate it with everybody, and that we make sure we're taking care of our planet and we're taking care of each other through love and cherishing. And that's our assignment, to take these Roaring Twenties and make it sort of like bringing it all together, bringing it all down home.
I love it. We've
always known that music and cannabis are the perfect pair. So can't wait to get high and see you live.
From your mouth to God's ears.
100%. Really, God. Well, thank you so much to everybody for being here. Our next session with Swami will be in 2 weeks from today with Chio Rodriguez, who runs Mendocino Generations, which is a co-op of farmers up here in the Emerald Triangle. And until then, just dance on. We can always listen to your music at home, and you'll know Swami and I will be dancing around the kitchen.
Yeah.
Sure will.
Awesome,
love
guys.
you guys so
Love you
much.
guys. Peace out.
Thank you,
buddy.
guys. Thank you.
Stay
well. Thank you.
Out.
Bye. Love you.
Bye now.
Much love.
Rock and roll.
Much love and thanks. Thanks so much.
Wow.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Later.
Thank you.